AI influencers. Everything I listen to now,
the pendulum swing is going to swing back. We might face repercussions as a society.
You increased new customer revenue 772%. Like, that is insane.
Yeah.
Why shouldn't every single store use one?
Cody Wittick is the co-founder of Kinship, an e-commerce growth agency that helps 8- and 9-figure Shopify brands scale new customer revenue. In the past 5 years, his agency has driven over $150 million in attributable revenue and produced over 200,000 ad creatives for e-commerce brands.
For better or for worse, you can demand a little bit more from an agency. Like,
we're offering a system, not a set of services. 3 or 4 years ago, 90% of their ad library was influencer seeding content. Today, it's probably 20%.
I'll just say, for a little bit of debate here, is it always a bad strategy to sell it for less on Amazon?
It's just kind of like pick your poison. Do you want to overinvest and be slower on the front end, but ultimately have more control? Or do you want...
Cody, so good to have you on the show. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
I like to, I don't know if you've listened to some of our recent episodes, but I like to break the ice by asking guests, what were you doing exactly 15 minutes before you got on this call?
I like that.
This could be awkward. I know.
I might steal that.
You are welcome
15 minutes, I was probably making sure that I was set up in this room and responding to a few emails.
Sneaking in a few
prospects. Yeah.
Nice. The hustle's real.
Real.
I've heard
Never
everything
stops.
From getting my kid out the door, making the bed, doing my hair, closing a deal. So
yeah,
it says a lot.
Going number 2. I don't know. Hopefully not that.
Quickly going to the bathroom. Well, that's a real thing. We're gonna be sitting here for a little bit. So
yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining. You, I know we chatted a couple years ago, maybe close to 3 years ago now. I think it was like during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And I caught up with you briefly at Sub Summit last year, but a lot has changed, I think, in your world since then. And that's why I wanted to have you talk to you again. I mean, the last time we chatted, you were really focused on product seeding for influencers and helping brands. I think you were very narrowly focused on.
I mean, that's pretty much our whole business model.
Right.
Essentially.
Well, you've got an app for it. You've got tools for it.
Yeah.
And now you would kind of describe yourself as a growth agency.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So explain to me what's happened the last couple of years. Catch me up.
I mean, I like to say we've gone through probably 9 lives as an agency. So when I was on the podcast and when we were first introduced, we called ourselves an influencer marketing agency. And that's how we kind of got quote unquote famous on Twitter, which was putting out content around our product seeding methodology and how it was leading to a bunch of content for ads. And we were always doing paid media behind the scenes. We just weren't requiring it. So it was all very much focused on this is a content pipeline for ads primarily. Yeah. But there was also other things that we were really pushing to as like the organic distribution, the relationship capital that you're building. It came from my experience at a brand previously and how I was building relationships with big macro talent, celebrity talent through just product gifting.
Yep.
So that was kind of our business model at the beginning, but it wasn't a very good business model in terms of keeping clients long term. Part of that is influencer marketing just in general, still to this day, is I think a channel that people tend to try and see if they can do this thing, and we're kind of the new sexy thing on the market. So lots of churn as an agency. But all of our case studies had to do with the ad account, and it usually was when we were actually in control of the ad account in terms of like running the performance. So we got tired of being blamed for things we weren't in control over. So we started requiring it probably in 2022. That was like a first big change. It was like, in order for you to work with Kinship, like we need to run your ad account, which was scary. It was like turning off a lot of things that was a pipeline for getting, people in the door and helping feed our people and stuff like that. But it was one of the best things that we ever did. And then soon after that, another thing we got tired of was, founders, they're coming in with, knowledge of their competitor or the industry and, hey, Kinship, you need to hit a 4 ROAS. And okay, Jay, like where's this number come from? And we weren't confident in those answers a lot of the time. And so we actually started down this exercise of, well, we want to be in control of setting the target, or at least in partnership with the brand to help set the target. And once you go down that route, you really can't do that unless you actually have full access and like feel like you're a part of the business with them. And so that's when we started introducing our financial forecasting methodology and modeling. And you can't just, like, when I say forecast, usually agencies or even brands, sometimes it's kind of, okay, we want to hit X top line revenue next year. And we kind of just put it in a spreadsheet and we kind of build up to that. So it's more of a top down. Our process was, okay, we actually need to know all the cost centers of your business. We need to know like your repeat rates, because everything affects profitability, like, right? Like it's kind of so it wasn't like we could just, dip our toes into this. We actually had to do like customer cohort-based analysis, and we had to know your fixed expenses. We had to know your repeat rates. We had to know all these different things. And so that's the evolution, the most recent evolution, I would say, in the past year and a half, 2 years. We just hit 7 years this is our 6-year anniversary, so we're entering year 7. So yeah,
congrats.
The last couple of years
huge.
I appreciate it. So that's kind of been the evolution. So that you're exactly right. We call ourselves an e-commerce growth agency, and ultimately that we're focused on scaling new customer revenue. That's where we really impact, primarily through Meta. So yeah, that's the long story. Long. So I guess you could say.
You said primarily through Meta. That was going to be one of my questions when you said you take over ad accounts.
Yeah.
Every platform, or like is Meta your main focus, but you still do the others as well too, or are you just focused on Meta?
Yeah. So good question. So as far as like the execution, primarily is Meta. We also do Google, and of course with Meta comes TikTok. Forever long. That seems to be changing every day here in
it's
the
back
United
now,
States.
so I guess
it's back, but who knows? And is Mr. Beast going to buy it? So we manage paid social. Google has been a new channel over the past year, but we're not doing everything. So we're not touching Amazon ads, but we're overseeing it all. So that's kind of like where the growth strategy comes in. So to back up a little bit, I like to say that we're offering a system, not a set of services. So it's not as a most like probably what people hear when they hear e-commerce growth agency. It's kind of like, cool, like you offer a full suite of services, pretty much the full gamut. I would just want to pick and choose like what I need. Whereas with us, it's like, here's a proven system that's proven to scale brands. And this system includes financial forecasting, creative, and then the actual like conversion optimization of the go execute on these particular channels, which the channels of what I just said.
Gotcha.
So we're not like piecemealing out any of these services, or it's more so like, here's the system, what it includes. And obviously I can break down what I already touched on with like forecasting, paid social, and we can get into the creative side of things, which still includes the influencer side. So it's kind of like one of those buckets in terms of like being able to tap on stuff.
Yeah. Well, I think probably something that would be beneficial for listeners right off the hop is who should use a growth agency?
Yeah, good question.
Like should why shouldn't every single store use one? Or would that be your
it kind of gets into the conversation, right? With like, what's the difference? Like, why should I use an agency just in general, or build an in-house team? I mean, my general sense on that, there's not too much that can be done in-house that can be done outsourced as well. Like there's not many differences, right? It's just kind of like pick your poison. Which do you want to build long-term? Like, do you want to overinvest and be slower on the front end, but ultimately have more control? Or do you want those, diversity of and depth of knowledge and speed right away? So I think once you start getting like 9 figures and above, and even some of our brands that are hitting that mid 8 figures and starting to grow, like they're starting to really build out those in-house capabilities. But the sweet spot and where we find a lot of market share is between that 5 to 50 million annual revenue, where agencies can be very, very effective because you're not in the early stages where you're trying to establish product market fit. what is your TAM, like answering all these bigger questions. But you've established, you have an audience, you have an email list, you have a customer file size, and that's where an e-commerce growth agency can really help scale you. And I like to say too, like, we can be that transitionary team, and I think that's one of the values of an agency as well. And most agencies do themselves a disservice by saying they get scared of that prospect of like, well, we're about to get replaced. I view it as we're going to help educate your person way faster than you. Have them sit under us for 6 months to a year, and learn. Or maybe eventually you find out that this person's just freed up to do other things and you can keep us on board. And it's kind of like a win-win in my mind. And I think people appreciate that.
It's interesting. I was talking to Ron with Obvi. And he's got also a podcast, Chew on This, and we were just chatting, and they're a massive brand. They're in like Target and all over. Like, you would think they have a lot of employees. I think he said they have 6. He said they use agencies for absolutely everything. And that's been a big part of their strategy is they, you could call it, and he joked about this too. For better, for worse, you can demand a little bit more from an agency. Like you kind of, he said it on we were chatting too. He's like, you wouldn't necessarily treat an employee the same way you treat an agency. And
let's think about that for a little bit, Ron.
But in the sense that, like, if an agency just doesn't perform, they can
for
say,
sure.
Move on to the next one, right?
Yeah.
Like, there is something to be, and I know you want to work obviously long term and solve problems together. I'm not suggesting but there's a performance that has to be met, and there is with employees as well too. But it's definitely more of like put it this way, like, when an employee is underperforming, you generally don't just fire them right away. You put them on like a coaching 100%. Program, or you work with them, and
you're going to give them way more runway because
you try to get them built back up, and that has a cost on your business. But ultimately, it's like the right thing to do as well too, right? With an agency, like, if you're not performing, I'm not going to say to you, Cody, your Kinship is not performing, but let's work with you here for a couple months and get you back on track. And, so like,
for sure,
that's definitely a benefit of.
No, there's no question that I think agencies are the more cost-effective route, which actually I think a lot of the time the perception is I'm overpaying because you as a business have margin too. Well, it's like, when you actually start doing the math, and I've done this math exercise of what you're getting with Kinship, for example, like, it starts to be a $250,000 to $400,000 investment. That's more than hiring us as an agency,
right?
And we're not cheap either. We charge premium because we think we're offering premium service. So our retainers are definitely higher than the market rate. But when you're getting like a financial analyst, when you start getting a media buyer and then a creative strategist, like, those 3 roles alone add in benefits. And what you're saying with, like, if they're underperforming, and like the leeway that you're going to give them because you've invested in this person, almost like a sunk cost fallacy versus the psychology that you don't have with an agency.
Yeah.
Which is exactly why we try to structure our contracts the way that is long-term, just because, hey, we're going to be forecasting your business out over the next 12 months. We're thinking very long-term over the next year for you. We also want you to be thinking long-term with us, is like, there's going to be bumps in the road. How can we get this, on the right way if there is bumps in the road? So
you've seen some incredible success with some of the brands you've worked with. I know you shared some with me. I would love to highlight some of them and actually pick your brain a little bit on
sure.
Like, what you've seen. I know that we probably can't share everything, but like, just on a high level, some things that work. So like, I've got 4 listed here, if it's okay with you. These numbers are wild. So Purdy and Fig, you increased new customer revenue 772%, and reduced while reducing customer acquisition cost by 61%. Like, that is insane.
Yeah.
If you increased it 10%, that would be good. But so what were some of the things you did? Like, what were some of the strategies when you came in and you looked at their business? And What did you do?
Yeah, I'm just laughing while you're giving those percentages, because sometimes those percentages are just like, what does that even mean? Like, is that starting from zero and then you just
were they almost going out of business or what? No,
yeah,
obviously
no. But I think some of the other things that would be more of a brag would be like, they've gone from mid like $450,000 to 8 figures over the past 4 years, and we've been partnering with them that whole time. And even in 2024, they were named the number one fastest growing brand in the UK, number 9 on the London Times, fastest growing brand in the UK. Wow. So those are probably better metrics for people to see, like just the growth that they've been on. And we've probably updated the case study on our website probably 3 or 4 times just because of how long we've been working with them. But yeah, I mean, essentially they have one product, one offer. It's really a free bottle with the company is essential oil cleaning, very natural cleaning, disrupting the cleaning space, and it smells amazing. Very obviously natural with essential oils, but it's a subscription model of getting, once you run out, you're just on subscription with new cleaning supplies of the essential oils. It smells awesome. You get that free bottle, so it's on subscription. So very, very low AOV, but incredible retention. So one of the things that was effective from the beginning with them was our influencer seeding process. So like I said, I mean, since they've been with us 4 years, they saw like our evolution as an agency. And we actually didn't require paid media when we first started working with them. So we actually didn't have the ad account at the very beginning, but we actually quickly, that was one of the ones that we, I use this word loosely, stole from the founder, Jack. And he admittedly would say that he was like the first agency that proved ourselves that he was worth handing it over. So we're able to win it over is probably a better way. And yeah, they've just seen crazy success. I mean, today they're spending over 7 figures a month on ads. And we're launching thousands of ads a month. And this is also too a great example of what we were talking about earlier with they've built out their in-house team as we've grown alongside them. So like they've built out their creative department. I could say I could be threatened by that, or I could say, well done, that's awesome. We'll continue to cheer you on. So like probably 90% of their ad account at one point was coming from us in terms of, and it was all like influencer seeding content. Today it's probably
explain influencer seeding real quick. Just for anyone that's not familiar with the term. It's
essentially sending out free product, no strings attached to influencers, people with social media following. In our process, it's lots of labor involved, lots of process involved. But we're reaching out to influencers cold, offering them the product. And we have expectations of this, but conservatively, for every 10 people that we send out product to, 3 people will end up posting completely for free. And then we reach back out for usage rights of that content, capture that content through social listening tools, and then we get that into that account. So that's like the 30,000.
And you're managing this. Oh, sorry, say that again.
Yeah.
That's 30,000 foot view. Yeah. And you're managing this for brands. You're DMing them and following up after and messaging like what?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Right. So you do it's a no strings attached. So you send it. And then do you wait and see if they post and then reach out, or?
Yeah. Just because we're saying, hey Jay, like we think you're a great brand fit. We'd love to send you our product. No strings attached. We literally use that phrase. Let me know your address. We'll get it right out to you. You say yes. We send out the product. Because of our tracking, we're able to know when they get it. And then usually they post right away. If they are, we have process built around this. If they haven't yet, to like reach back out. But then they post, we see it through social listening, and then we capture that content and get usage rights to it, or we're obviously requesting it, and they say yes, and then we get it into that account. So
amazing.
What I was saying with Jack was like 90% of the ad library was all of that. It was coming from that process, and they were seeing crazy post rates. Just, it's on the case study on our website, just like the amount of impressions that they were getting.
So way when beyond you're creating these thousands of
Yeah.
When you're creating these thousands of ads a month, is a lot of that user generated content from?
It's a mix of both. So what I was saying was like, 3 or 4 years ago, 90% of their ad library was influencer seeding content. Today, it's probably 20%, 30%.
Okay.
And a lot of it is also coming from like, as they've built out their creative team, they have in-house UGC creators. They have creative strategists that are producing this content. They have beautiful static imagery and stuff like that. We don't have a horse in the race. It's not like, our ego is shot in that. It's just, we just want to see success. Ultimately, like we're not judged, talk about the evolution of us. We're not judged on this influencer seeding process anymore. That's like so long ago. And that's just one of the creative buckets that we offer, which I'm sure we can get into that. But so being in partnership with a brand that long, it's obviously been like there's lots of evolutions and different challenges that you come across. But yeah,
it's crazy. It's insane. The numbers. Are you? How much are you leveraging AI for some of the ad creation? Has that become a big part of it?
Actually, no. I mean, so all of the major portions of creation of content, it's coming through human beings. So I have a lot of qualms around AI, UGC.
Okay. Well, I'd love to hear that because it seems like everything I listen to now or see is all around AI influencers. Like, I don't know, I literally just saw a post this morning and it was an influencer holding, she was wearing, it was shoes or something. And she said something like, my name is Sophie and I'm your lowest maintenance influencer ever. I don't demand high paybacks. I show up on time. I'm not moody or something. I'm also AI or something, but actually it seemed very real. And I know it seems like there's a new platform for this almost on a weekly basis to some type of AI influencer tool.
Look, I think AI, if you're I even just tweeted this the other day. It was just like there's this perception of like using AI as like a shortcut. Like from a creative perspective, like it's almost like frowned upon, or it's like everyone's using it, but everyone's afraid to like come out and say like I'm
sourced by AI. Yeah.
It's like this weird thing where I view it as like if you're not using it, I don't like. It's like not using email and you'd rather send handwritten letters, type thing. So I definitely think it's a great tool and it can get you started. And specifically for things like static imagery or like DPA ads and things like that, I think it's just kind of a no-brainer. But when it comes and involves human beings, I just think the pendulum swing is going to swing back. It's like going so far into now we just have fake people. That I just think we might face repercussions as a society where it's going to hopefully pendulum swing back into some like real, like authentic things. And that's what you're trying to tap into with human beings at the end of the day. I just don't, I'll end with this. I just don't think that's ever going to go away. Like we're always going to have humans. Listen to Joe Rogan, his thoughts on, will we ever have a reality where like you cannot tell the difference between what's fake and what's real, which is kind of scary. And I'm sure we're kind of on that trajectory. But I don't know if we're ever going to get rid of, we saw this with COVID, right? Where it was like, in office is dumb. It's full remote. That's the future. And now what are we seeing 4 years later, which 5 years later, like people are like
they
hybrid
miss the
models.
office.
They miss the human interaction. And when it comes to advertising, I just don't think you're ever going to get around that.
There might be a short kind of period where you can see some arbitrage and win, but it's like when product reviews kind of first became popular and then they became all fake and then there became ways to verify like that they were a verified purchaser. And I almost feel like something like that will happen there'll be a period of time where
Yeah.
it can get exposed or used, but there needs to be like a verified human stamp of some sort, because I agree, like it won't, I would say, like, anyone listening right now, if you are leveraging AI for some type of influencer ads, like go ahead and do it. But it's like, don't build a long-term strategy on it. You might win for a short period, but the rug could get pulled out very quick. And it's like we saw what could potentially happen with TikTok. And I don't know when this episode will air exactly, but it's like, you shouldn't put all your eggs in one basket. If
For
TikTok
sure.
went away and you don't have a business, that's not TikTok's fault. That's your fault for having them all in one basket. And I would say the same thing, like with if you went all in with AI influencers, for example.
For sure. I just think people can tell. It's just we're made with some
for now,
intuition.
Right? It's getting
right.
Think about how far it's come in the last year. It's insane.
Yeah, no, it is.
So where will we be 12 months from now? Like,
Good rabbit hole.
In 2 years, I might say, hey, Cody, I'd love to have you back on the show. Do you want to personally come or send your AI representative who's trained on everything
that's actually happening right now, Jay? You actually didn't know. So this is my AI.
Oh my goodness. That's it. I'm out of here. It will happen one day.
Yeah.
I'd like to dig into some of these other ones here too. Actually, Supergut. I didn't know you work with them. I'm a huge fan of them and what they do.
Nice.
And love
awesome.
them. You increased new customer revenue. So 800%, let's call it 799%, and also reduced CAC. Any fun learnings from them, or was it similar to Purdy and Fig? Or
I think on Supergut specifically, this is where I keep mentioning Twitter and LinkedIn, but we get into this conversation right now, NFL playoffs. I know that's not as big in Canada, maybe.
We're watching.
Okay. Yeah. Didn't want to be, I don't know what you call it, biased towards America.
But CFL, we have our football league, but it's over now. So,
well, it gets in this conversation that's quite annoying for me, where I hear, and on sports talk, it's just like all over the place, people, because they need talking points. But who's more important, Brady or Belichick? Who's more crucial to success, Andy Reid or Patrick Mahomes? Or, he's only good because he has the great talent around him for a quarterback, right? Like if he had no talent, he wouldn't be as good.
Well, if you're talking about Mahomes, it's who's more valuable, Mahomes or the refs?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, there we go.
I'm just kidding. That's a whole other can of worms.
Yeah. The conspiracy theories behind all these different things. It doesn't understand like the full picture. Like the answer is both, right? Like it takes everyone. And so I related that to an agency client relationship. Like who's more valuable? Who's taking more? Is Kinship the cause for growth for Purdy and Fig, or is Purdy and Fig's product the cause for growth? Well, the answer is both play a crucial part in the growth of the company. So for tying this back to Supergut, this was tied around where we start to see a lot of scale was tied around with Ozempic and GLP-1 and a lot of the rise and nuance to that. And so we saw ads really, really crush that were speaking to that specific audience that might be interested in getting some of the benefits of that without having to take Ozempic. And now it's kind of caught on where you see a lot of companies that are kind of speaking to that audience or talking points. So this gets into one of the major things that can impact acquisition is creative. Like it'll always be that. So 60-70% of the reason people buy on ads is the creative. Facebook and Meta talk about this is the most important thing in the auction dynamics. But the second thing is the offer. And so tied in with Supergut specifically, that offer, that specific thing. And that offer can just be the angle. But it also, obviously it could be 20% off by BOGO, all those sorts of things around peak buying periods. And tied in with the landing page that goes hand in hand with the offer. So those are some of the things that we look at in addition to creative that we really impact, offer. And then also 3, like copy. And 4, do we have the right target? Like when we're kind of problem solving within looking at the whole business, like why aren't we seeing scale? What are the different levers that we can pull on? Just looking at the data as it comes in, do we have the right target? Are we, is your category, is this a too high of a target for your category? For example, we had a brand come in and people on their board. So the health and wellness brand, very low, like subscription heavy, close with someone on his board that also worked with Bombas. So socks, subscription. And he was telling him a different metric and target that he should have for his company that was coming from a perspective of clothing subscription versus, health and wellness. Well, if this clothing guy is coming in and saying you need to hit a 4, but your market and the market that you're competing with, especially in the auction, is hitting a 1.5, for example, and you're trying to go after a 4, there's going to be no people left to out and find conversion.
Yeah.
So those are some of the auction dynamics that you have to also consider when it comes to like your market, right? Who else are you competing with and what are they willing to pay? And most of the time, like, probably conservatively 50% of our brands are focused on subscription, on getting their brands, being willing to lose money on the front end because their repeat revenue is really carrying their business and most predictable part of their business. Well, if you start having super aggressive new customer goals and start saying, well, I just want to make as much money as possible on the first order, you're just not going to find any scale, any spend, any customers left over to actually scoop up because all your competitors are finding people, those same people at much cheaper. So that's where I think thinking about it as an auction is really helpful, because if you actually went to an auction and you bid much lower or you bid much higher, like those dynamics really affect your acquisition.
Yeah. I agree with you. You have to know your metrics intimately. I've seen some brands really screw it up trying to over discount on their first order when they don't properly understand their lifetime value and retention. And some people already say like, no, you have to have first order profitability no matter what. Like, no ifs, ands, or buts. Where I don't think that's the case if you're a subscription brand, but you do have to know like your numbers and really watch it, because that is an advantage you have, and it's a card you can play, right?
Right. No, definitely. I mean, you can, if you bet the house on LTV, I mean, there's a lot of brands that did that and then died.
Yep. 100%. Yeah.
But like Purdy and Fig, for example, if they tried to be first order profitable on a 20-pound product, like there's just going to be nobody to find conversions. So like our targets within the ad account are nowhere near first order profitable. But their LTV is like one of the best we've ever seen. So, and it's very predictable at this point, being 5 years into their company.
Right. Couple of questions I came up with your last answer there. Where are you sending customers to? Have you found anything that works? Are you sending them to the product pages? Are you building custom landing pages?
Yeah.
Anything that works better as far as that?
We test both, like PDP and landing pages. Right now, we are big fans of Vermont. And we've been utilizing them, and we've been one of their first like beta agencies testing out like a different model where we've really gotten premium service for some of our clients, testing different landing pages. I mean, their whole thesis, if you guys haven't heard of them, is testing landing pages like testing creative. And we've seen a ton of success. And these landing pages, guys, are nothing fancy. It is like same creative from the ad ends up on the landing page, and then there's one thing to do, and like you can't go to anywhere else. Obviously, the cool thing about Vermont is like you can design it any which way, but the ways that we're designing it is very, very basic. It's just like the ad that I click on, I see it on the same landing page, and then it's just clear offer, buy. And we've seen it really like sometimes almost double conversion rate on some of our clients. So this is something that we're actually like offering at scale now through partnership with Vermont. So yeah, that's been a super helpful resource just because we didn't have like in-house designers or web dev people that were building these landing pages. So that's something specific to us that's been really exciting, and it's been an awesome partnership.
Yeah, I know Vermont. Well, I know Aaron Orendorff quite well.
Yeah,
from there,
I think he's the one who introduced us. Actually,
he was. That's right.
Yeah, like way back in the day. Yeah.
Wait, small world. And now you're using their page builder.
Yeah.
I just had Nick from Shogun on, and actually the episode hasn't aired yet, but similar solution to Vermont.
Sure.
But he was saying that they've seen most brands when they switch from sending people to traffic to a product page to a dedicated landing page, they see 30 to 40% better conversion, assuming you test it. Like sometimes it's the short ones that work well, and sometimes it's these really long form with videos and more copy, and then testimonials, and then another video, and then 5 lifestyle photos, and then more copy. And it's like it really depends on the product. But bottom line is testing, like A/B testing, and
for sure
continually, like, and then when you get a winner, A/B test again, and then you get a winner, A/B test again. Like you keep narrowing and narrowing down till you get the ultimate solution. So because I think I see so many brands waste so much money sending their ad traffic to the product page, which I think the product page, we always have to remember, is kind of more near the end of the funnel. Like someone has generally landed on your homepage and watched some video, learned a little bit about you and your brand and your messaging and your value, everything about who you are. They maybe went through a collection page. They maybe went to 4 or 5 other pages on your site, and then they're on the product page. And so to send new, fresh traffic there, I think is a big miss. So that's why I was curious. So it makes sense. What are some of the KPIs you track, like that are really important? Like if I'm a brand and I want to know, I saw you listed like new customer acquisition. You have AIMER, which is acquisition marketing efficiency rating, contribution margin. Like what are your key metrics that you report with brands or go over every month when you sit down and look?
It's total new customer revenue, and
so that's taking removing anyone that has previously purchased. That's new customer revenue, right?
I think this is, it kind of goes into our business model and philosophy. We just released a podcast today around.
Let's give it a plug.
WTF do our media buyers do all day? Which it's because it's this perception of around running cost controls, which we can get into, but like, do you just upload creative and adjust cost caps up and down? Like what our media buyers, as if like the other way to do it is like the media buyers are in the ad account and they're constantly making changes, which there's also a whole other host of problems with that. But also, a lot of times other agencies or even just an internal media buyer, all they're doing is they're trying to affect the ad account within the ad account. Whereas our philosophy is probably 80% of your job is actually outside of the ad account. To affect the results in that account. And what do I mean? Well, it's working with creative pipelines. It's what we've talked about with looking at the whole business. So being involved financially and actually seeing like, where are we at from these other channels and how is Meta affecting other channels, which is another problem of, if I'm just running Facebook ads in a silo, I'm just trying to make my Facebook dashboard look as sexy as possible because I'm an agency and I'm trying to keep the client, or I'm an internal media buyer and I'm trying to look important, etc. Like it just creates really bad execution. I'm looking at offers. I'm working with our creative strategist. I'm working with our landing page team. I'm working with just my CMO, just in general. What offers can we look to leverage? Do we have the right target? I'm working with our CFO. Like these are the ways that our media buyers are working. But in terms of KPIs, we're judged on growing total new customer revenue at an AMER that makes sense for the brand goals that they have. So when we financially forecast, when we come on board, it's what is the profit percentage goal that you guys have over the next 12 months? And we build the forecast bottom up, meaning like if irregardless of your goal, here's the current trajectory of your brand if nothing changed based on repeat revenue, based on new customer trends and by channel. Now you're paying us to impact total new customer revenue. So of course we're going to like forecast that out and what we think we can achieve based on seasonality and what is realistic based on actual data. But ultimately it's tying, okay, we want to hit 10% bottom line over the next 12 months or at the end of these next 12 months. Okay, how do we actually impact that? So we're just looking at, new customer, AMER, guys, is another word for saying new customer return on ad spend. It's the same thing. So we're just looking at blended new customer ROAS.
Acquisition marketing efficiency rating.
Yeah, or ratio. Same thing.
Ratio. Yeah.
So again, like we're holding each channel tied to our new customer return on ad spend goal. And for example, like we're executing on Meta. If we're executing on Meta, we're tying our AMER goal to an in-ad account CPA and making sure that those are synonymous. But a lot of times your in-ad account CPA is going to look maybe poor, but your total new customer AMER or your new customer return on ad spend is really good and it's actually hitting the efficiency that we want. And that's because the way these platforms and channels work, right? Like Meta is a demand generation platform, especially the way we think about it is the best top of funnel channel in the world ever invented because of the ways that you can go and acquire new customers. And so running hard exclusions, making sure that you're not, wasting ad spend on people that are going to buy anyways, et cetera. But like, for example, we see, as we increase and we do these attribution diet tests all the time with our clients, we see as we raise Meta up and we hold these other channels, ad spends steady, we actually see total new customer revenue go up on an Amazon, for example, right? Because what you just said about like what you're bringing up about landing pages, this is actually a very related thing. Going to a PDP, usually a normal customer journey, they're going to go on the homepage and stuff like that. So if I see an ad and I click on it and I go to a PDP and maybe I don't buy right away, what am I doing? I'm Googling the brand, I'm going to their Instagram, I'm searching if they're on Amazon and if I can get a better deal or if I can just get it faster. And so that's why we see that correlation. As you spend more on Meta, you're naturally going to see if you are on Amazon and you're not doing stupid things like offering a cheaper price point on Amazon, you're just naturally going to see an increase on new customer revenue on Amazon. So that was very long-winded of saying like the main KPI of what we're looking at is AMER and making sure that's translating to the in-ad account and also just total profitability. But we're also looking at top line, right? Like, what people care about most is top line growing and am I getting the profitability that I need?
One thing I'll just say for a little bit of debate here, is it always a bad strategy to sell it for less on Amazon?
Well, yeah, I generally think, well, obviously it depends on your goals. I mean, there's obviously nuance to this. I just think if you're expecting, like, so this comes from real examples, right? Where we have a client that comes to us and says, man, I really want to grow my .com. And then when we go to their website and their PDP page says, add to cart or buy now with Prime, what do you think people are doing? You know what I mean? So those are some of the conversations that's just, and if we're never going to be driving traffic from our paid ads to Amazon directly because the loss of attribution, Facebook can't optimize all that stuff. It's just no question Amazon is a better e-commerce experience. But to your point, no, it's not in the sense that if total new customer is growing, I don't care where it's coming from as long as like, so usually what we recommend is that it be equal because what's going to happen most of the time anyways is that people are going to want the better e-commerce experience, which is Amazon. Like Prime is just a better e-commerce experience.
The reason I ask is one of our brands we work with, Liquid Death, is like, and I think it's probably still on their site. If you go to a product page, they would have a case of their water for $20 on the site or $16.99 on Amazon. And you would think like, why the heck are they selling it cheaper on Amazon when they have to pay Amazon 15%? And then they even eventually like disabled the add to cart button for a while. And they've done a lot of different testing, but their goal was they wanted to be the top ranked mineral water on Amazon. And so for a while they drove all their traffic there. And then they own now, I think, first, second, and third place, because now they have flavored water and energy water. They have different things, but that was the strategy. So I think it's important to know like what is your strategy. But I generally agree. Like
that's kind of what I opened with, right? It's like, well, it depends on your goal. Like that's a clear goal. Seems like a home run. Do I think it's also some context here, guys? Liquid Death, one of the fastest growing and huge 9-figure brand. Maybe to the normal brand listening to this, I don't know if like 9-figure brands are always the ones that we actually listen to.
Yeah. What do you do any around audiences? Like you talk to me a little bit about, is there any neat things? Like I've heard some brands are doing some kind of cool strategic things with like audience swapping, sharing pixels with other brands, or doing things like to really creatively build audiences. Are you just doing it through targeting on the site, or is there any advice or strategy around how to think about audiences?
Broad.
Go broad and then retarget, like.
Yeah. So on Meta specifically, I would say vast majority of the time we're going after new customer acquisition. So there's something to be said around if their repeat rates are already really bad, like if you're just a one-time buy, or it's below like 50%, for example, 30% even, you could run some more retargeting campaigns in terms of looking at your email list, uploading your email list, or people that are unsubscribed, or people that haven't clicked or opened an email in the past 90 days. And those things I wouldn't be against. So we're not like completely dogmatic. But when you go into like an ASC campaign, for example, and we do audits all the time, and I see 20% of their existing budget going to existing customers, that's where I'm like, man, you're just wasting the tool. What the tool is best set up to do is actually open people's eyes and discover you for the first time. So that doesn't include, like obviously that's going to be remarketed, and especially for like, going back to Purdy and Fig, for example, like at one point they were concerned that their new visitor percentage was going down. But all that means is that as we're increasing ad spend, hopefully that new visitor percentage becomes 0 and new customer percentage goes up, right? Like it's actually sometimes can be a very, very misleading metric. What we care about is new customer percentage, as long as that's going up. So back to your original question, Jay. Very big fan of broad and leaning into the machine learning system of Facebook. I just think when you're trying to manipulate the thing, like that's where you're back in, 2016 Facebook days.
Right.
And I just think
let Facebook do what it's good at.
Yeah. It's just, even if person listening to this, you're probably pretty smart. You probably think you know your customer better than Meta, but I promise you Meta will do a better job of putting your ads in front of the right people than you. Because it's only upside, right? Let's just think about it. It's only upside. If you're wrong, you're forcing inefficiency. Yeah. If you're right, Facebook's going to spend that money anyways towards those people. I just view it as upside.
Before we run out of time here, I want you to imagine you're running a store and you've got, I don't know, let's say $10,000 a month. And what would be your growth strategy for Cody's vitamins to scale it as fast as you can with $10,000 a month? What are you doing?
I just get $10,000 of house money every month.
You have a budget of $10,000. I'm your boss, Cody. And You have
the
$10,000
bank.
to grow.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or you're not fired. We'll put you on a performance improvement plan.
My mind goes to actually building an organic audience before I ever dive into paid. And this is coming from the e-commerce growth agency that's spending millions on Meta. So I would actually go to more grassroots type stuff where I'd actually be trying to build as many relationships with people in my target customer. I mean, this kind of goes into like product seeding. I'd probably, depending on that $10,000, if that $10,000 is going towards inventory in month one, then I'm going to use half of that inventory to get it out to podcasters, influencers, my friends and family. Yeah, I think I would try to, and then I would also invest probably half of that into just building, like maybe trying to get either myself or someone way more talented than me to start just posting content and create organic audience first. I think that's just incredible leverage when you actually have that by default versus having to go out and pay for that awareness. Obviously, you're paying it by sending out the product, but it's way cheaper when you send out the product and also have to pay for the advertising costs,
right,
and acquisition costs. So, yeah, it's definitely not the quick way, but I think it's the right way for brands to build.
I would agree. Plus, you're building relationships where you're going to get product feedback and learn more. And,
totally.
Like they might become a true fan that then is also referring, maybe not just one or two. Like if they're a podcaster, an influencer, it could be thousands, right? So,
yeah,
I would agree with that. What is your app still? Is that a publicly available thing, or do you use it internally for your agency?
I mean, that's what in terms, we always use it internally for our agency, but people.
But someone can just like if I wanted to do product seeding myself, and I could.
It used to be called the influencer seeding app. Now I think we just changed it back to the Kinship app because they outlawed like the main function cannot be the title of the app.
Yeah, we've got all those emails too.
Yeah, so we were
you could call it the Kynship seeding app, but not the product seeding app.
Oh, well, maybe we do that too.
As long as your brand name is first. We had to change a few too as well.
So it comes in as revenue every month for brands that discover it and use it, and we have brands that won't use it from.
So if someone listening wants to try product seeding, what this app does is it is a way it creates orders to send
scale,
the product.
Zero draft orders at scale for influencers. So basically a 1, 2, 3 easy step process. You just upload the influencer. Let's say you have 10 influencers that you want to send product to. They're not obviously in your Shopify ecosystem. You upload them as customers, you add them all. And then, step 2 is you add the product. Step 3, make sure their addresses are right. And then you just submit. And then it goes out through your normal backend. Okay.
What are your thoughts on using Shopify collabs for some of that? Like that, have you played around with that much?
Yeah, I'm not even going to try to pretend that. I mean, when we first started it, there wasn't really much like it, but now it's like a very basic functionality that a lot of, Shopify collabs probably, I think it has this functionality. So
I don't know for sure. Well, I don't want to promote it then if it's but I know there's like collabs does a lot as well.
For sure.
That was originally.
Well, and TikTok Shops, I mean, did the
similar thing.
It was like the seeding integration was kind of like baked in.
But maybe so on a like if you're looking for a simple way to just bulk
send out
create orders, like you reach out to influencers. You've got 50 people that are like, yeah, sure, send me your stuff. You put them in a CSV, and then upload it into the Kinship app, and it will create the orders. So then, if you're using a logistics company or however, they're in your system, right?
For sure. Yep.
Yeah.
Always and forever. So
okay, I'll put a link to that in the show notes for sure.
And collabs. Make sure you do that too.
Yes. There we go. Keep it fair. Keep it legit. Yeah. Awesome. Cody, this has been fantastic. Thank you for sharing all your wisdom and insight. Where are you most active on social media? Where can I send people and can you share
Twitter
all
and
your
LinkedIn,
URLs?
both. But yeah, whichever one.
Okay.
Yeah, both equally.
And is it kinship.co?
Correct. KYNSHIP.co.
.co. Awesome. I'll add that in the show notes.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me
really
on.
Appreciate it. Absolutely.